Hey everybody, Mrs. McConnell here, and I am so excited to start reading a book to you. We're going to read one chapter at a time of The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. I'm so excited. E.B. White is an author who wrote some stories that you might be familiar with. One is called Charlotte's Web. Remember that one? About a pig named Wilbur and a spider named Charlotte. And E.B. White also wrote a book called Stuart Little about a mouse. Those were turned into movies. But if you haven't read the books yet, they would be great read-alouds to have, who knows, I might read them to you eventually, but you could have your parents or an older sibling or a grandparent read to you. This one is called The Trumpet of the Swan. It's a little bit less known, and it is perfect for us because there's so much good detail in this story, and it really highlights some birds, these amazing swans. So before I get into it, in chapter 1, there's some vocabulary words that I want you to be aware of. The words are cattails, muskrat, treacherous, and cygnets. Now what's weird is for me right now, these words are showing up in a mirror image, reverse. So we're gonna have to see if that's the way it looks when I play it back later, because if so, we're gonna have to figure that out. Cattails, muskrat, treacherous, and cygnets. If you don't know those yet, you can always take a moment right now and just pause me and look those up and find out more about those words, or we can jump right in and you can listen for the words, use your context clues and infer their meanings, and then look them up at the end if you want to find out more. All right, The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. This is a legit chapter book, you guys, not even like Magic Treehouse. This is a novel. It doesn't have many pictures, so whenever there are pictures, I'm going to make sure and show them to you. I'm using my phone, which is a little tricky. I tried this on my laptop already, and the audio was not good. I don't know what's going on with the microphone on my laptop, but it doesn't record very well, so I'm going to do it again. All right, table of contents. This book has 21 chapters. We're only going to read chapter 1 today. The Trumpet of the Swan. And I want you to look carefully at this picture and think about what that boy might be holding. And while I'm listening, you're going to find out what he's holding. I also just want you to look carefully. I'm going to zoom it in and then kind of come out and think about the setting of the book. What do you think the setting might be like based on what you've already seen about the cover and this picture? And who do you think the main character or characters might be based on this picture and the cover and the title? Got all that in your head? All right, I want you to get comfortable and enjoy chapter 1 of The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. Chapter 1 is called Sam. I wonder who Sam is. Walking back, these words are smaller than picture books. I'm going to have to really look. Walking back to camp through the swamp, Sam wondered whether to tell his father what he had seen. Wow, E.B. White is jumping right into the story. I'm going to read the beginning sentence again. And this is the beginning sentence. I didn't leave anything out. Walking back to camp through the swamp, Sam wondered whether to tell his father what he had seen. I know one thing, he said to himself. I'm going back to that little pond again tomorrow, and I'd like to go alone. If I tell my father what I saw today, he will want to go with me. I'm not sure that's a very good idea. Sam was 11. His last name was Beaver. He was strong for his age and had black hair and dark eyes like an Indian. We would say Native American now. But E.B. White wrote this book in 1970. Which is 3 years before I was born. So they said Indian when they meant Native American in 1970. He was strong for his age and had black hair and dark eyes like an Indian. Sam walked like an Indian too, putting one foot straight in front of the other and making very little noise. The swamp through which he was traveling was a wild place. There was no trail, and it was boggy underfoot, which made walking difficult. Every 4 or 5 minutes, Sam took his compass out of his pocket and checked his course to make sure he was headed in a westerly direction. What did he take out of his pocket? Yeah, that's what he's looking at. He's looking at his compass. Very cool. Canada is a big place. Much of it is wilderness. To get lost in the woods and swamps of Western Canada would be a serious matter. As he trudged on, the boy's mind was full of the wonder of what he had seen. Not many people in the world have seen the nest of a trumpeter swan. Sam had found one on the lonely pond on this day in spring. Hey, it's spring in the story, and it's spring now where we live. That's pretty cool. He had seen two great white birds with their long white necks and black bills. Nothing he had ever seen before in all his life had made him feel quite the way he felt on that wild little pond in the presence of those two enormous swans. They were so much bigger than any bird he had ever seen before. The nest was big too, a mound of sticks and grasses. The female was sitting on eggs. The male glided slowly back and forth, guarding her. When Sam reached camp, tired and hungry, he found his father frying a couple of fish for lunch. "Where have you been?" asked Mr. Beaver. "Exploring," replied Sam. "I walked over to a pond about 1.5 miles from here. It's the one we see from the air as we're flying in. It isn't much of a place, nowhere near as big as this lake we're on." "Did you see anything over there?" asked his father. "Well," said Sam, "it's a swampy pond with lots of reeds and cattails. I don't think it would be any good for fishing, and it's hard to get to. You have to cross a swamp." It's a swampy pond with a lot of reeds and cattails. Cattails is one of our vocabulary words from chapter 1. Let's keep going. "See anything?" repeated Mr. Beaver. "I saw a muskrat," said Sam, "and a few red-winged blackbirds." Hey, I saw a muskrat. There's another vocabulary word. Maybe it's better if I go like that. Sam saw cattails and a muskrat when he was at the pond. Those are just some new words. We know he saw something much more exciting, but he's not telling his dad yet. Mr. Beaver looked up from the wood stove where the fish were sizzling in a pan. "Sam," he said, "I know you like to go exploring, but don't forget, these woods and marshes are not like the country around home in Montana. If you ever go over to that pond again, be careful you don't get lost. I don't like you crossing swamps. They're treacherous. You could step into a soggy place and get bogged down, and there wouldn't be anybody to pull you out." What adjective did Sam's dad use to describe, what did he call it, a swamp? Treacherous. Treacherous. His dad said, "Swamps are treacherous." "I'll be careful," said Sam. He knew perfectly well he would be going back to the pond where the swans were, and he had no intention of getting lost in the woods. He felt relieved that he had not told his father about seeing the swans, but he felt queer about it too. Sam was not a sly boy, but he was odd in one respect. He liked to keep things to himself, and he liked being alone, particularly when he was in the woods. He enjoyed the life on his father's cattle ranch in the sweet grass country in Montana. So remember, we've learned from the text so far that they are camping where? Anybody remember? Yeah, they're camping in Canada. But home, where he lives, is, what did it say in the text? Montana, right? They live in Montana, which is in the United States. He loved his mother. He loved Duke, his cow pony. He loved riding the range. He loved watching the guests who came to board at the Beavers' ranch every summer. Sam lives on a ranch in Montana. But the thing he enjoyed most in life was these camping trips in Canada with his father. Mrs. Beaver didn't care for the woods, so she seldom went along. It was usually just Sam and Mr. Beaver. They would motor to the border and cross into Canada. Motor is a verb that E.B. White is using for drive, like drive a car. There, Mr. Beaver would hire a bush pilot to fly them to the lake where his camp was for a few days of fishing and loafing and exploring. Mr. Beaver did most of the fishing and loafing. Sam did the exploring. I just decided I want to add a new vocabulary word. Loafing. I'm going to put it right here on the bottom. Loafing. It's a verb, something Sam likes to do on their camping trips. And exploring. All right, let's get back to where we were. Mr. Beaver did most of the fishing and loafing, so his dad likes that part the most. Sam did the exploring, and then the pilot would return to take them out. His name was Shorty. They would hear the sound of his motor and run out and wave and watch him glide down onto the lake and taxi his plane into the dock. Whoa, what kind of boat is this? I mean plane. I mean boat. Sounds like it's one of those water planes. All right, let's keep going. These were the pleasantest days of Sam's life. These days in the woods, far, far from everywhere. No automobiles, no roads, no people, no noise, no school, no homework, no problems, except the problem of getting lost. And of course, the problem of what to be when he grew up. Every boy has that problem. After supper that evening, Sam and his father sat for a while on the porch. Sam was reading a bird book. "Pop," said Sam, "do you think we'll be coming back to camp again about a month from now? I mean, about 35 days or something, I think." "I guess so," replied Mr. Beaver. "I certainly hope so, but why 35 days? What's so special about 35 days? Let's think about what Sam saw that he hasn't told his dad about yet. Let's think about what kind of book he's reading right now. A bird book. Why does Sam want to make sure he's back in 35 days? What do you think he has learned? Let's see if you're right. "Oh, nothing," said Sam. "I just thought it might be very nice around here in 35 days. "That's the craziest thing I ever heard of," said Mr. Beaver. "It's nice here all the time." Sam went indoors. He knew a lot about birds, and he knew from reading his book it would take a swan about 35 days to, say it, I bet some of you figured it out, hatch her eggs. He hoped he could be at the pond to see the young ones when they came out of the eggs. Sam kept a diary, a day book about his life. It was just a cheap notebook that was always with him. Every night before he turned in for bed, he would write in the book. He wrote about things he had done, things he'd seen, and thoughts he had. Sometimes he drew a picture. He always ended by asking himself a question, so he would have something to think about while falling asleep. On the day he found the swan's nest, this is what Sam wrote in his diary. "I saw a pair of trumpeter swans today on a small pond east of camp. The female has a nest with eggs in it. I saw 3, but I'm going to put 4 in the picture. I think she was sitting on another one." Actually, it says, "I think she was laying another one." I think she was laying another one. Here's the picture. Sam drew 4 because he thinks that even though he saw 3, she was laying another one that he hadn't seen yet. "This is the greatest discovery I ever made in my entire life. I did not tell Pop. My bird book says baby swans are called cygnets." That was the last word I had on here. Cygnets. Cygnets. I'm going to read that sentence again. My bird book says baby swans are called cygnets. I'm going back tomorrow to visit the great swans again. I heard a fox bark today. Why does a fox bark? Is it because he's mad or worried or hungry, or because he's sending a message to another fox? Why does a fox bark? Sam closed his notebook, undressed, crawled into his bunk, and lay there with his eyes closed, wondering why a fox barks. In a few minutes, he was asleep. That's the end of chapter 1. Chapter 2 is called The Pond. I hope you're enjoying this story. I can't wait to read the next chapter to you. I'm going to hold this up one last time. Here's some words for you to figure out their meaning. It would be really cool if, like Sam, you would write them in a daybook or a diary or a notebook or anything you want, and maybe put some pictures with it and a short definition that shows you what the words mean. Cattails, muskrat, treacherous, cygnets, loafing. And if I'm gonna have to learn how to write words backwards for this thing, that's gonna be a challenge for me. We'll figure it out together. All right, bye you guys.